how many of your 75 placements last year, or you know the actual number, but whatever it was, had industry experience?
Well,
I'm going to repeat
one.
that again. You make hires for some incredible world-class organizations. Incredible world-class organizations who are making hires at senior leadership, GM, COO, president, whatever, right? Huge, big, heavy-hitting roles. And the people operating at that level say, yeah, I don't need industry experience. Just get me somebody with the right attributes. Feet up in the air. Why work harder when you can play it smart? That's the lazy leverage way to steal their heart. Welcome back to another episode of Lazy Leverage, the world's #1 operations podcast for business owners, downloaded over 4 billion times in the last 36 hours. Yeah, it's like McDonald's. I'm joined here by Christian Ruf of Uncommon Elite. Christian, how are you on this fine Tuesday?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to hear and happy to report that I heard that the guys coming back from the fighter pilot rescue were listening to our episode ahead of time.
Good.
Episode
They were
103.
Yeah, going in. They were listening to kind of get motivated. Love that.
Had it queued up, and on the flight back, yeah, they were at least the 160th guys were reporting. It was a phenomenal show. So rave reviews there, and the thumbnail's absolutely epic. So nicely done to the Sagan team on doing that. But yeah, happy to be back, man. Thanks for having me again.
I used to make the joke about like rappers want to be basketball players and basketball players want to be rappers, which was like, I'd be talking to some dude who's in like Shkin or Coast in Afghanistan. And all he wants to talk about is like his, public equities portfolio. And then like the dude sitting in Manhattan, all he wants to do is like talk about guns and whatever. And it's just like, rappers want to be basketball players want to be rappers. So a 160th guy flying in, listening to like some like How to Make Money Entrepreneur podcast is actually almost certainly what happened. He's not
almost, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like on the way back or at the gym, he's like, "What are you listening to?" I was like, "Oh, I'm listening to like an e-com podcast. I'm really thinking about drop shipping." It's like, "All right, thanks, man." So that's actually not out of character at all, I would say.
No, it's not. Although I'll say most of the podcasts I listened to were like culinary podcasts, like David Chang's Momofuku podcast. I would have these weird obsessions where I'd go on these trips and just obsess over like, how do you make ramen from scratch, which the broth requires probably like 4 dozen ingredients. And I'd come back and buy all the ingredients and then never do it. Just have something to fixate over for 45 days.
Like my Ninja Creamy. I bought that. Haven't even taken it out of the box yet. I really want to, though.
Yeah.
I really want to. It's on my aspirational list.
On your aspirational list. Excellent.
We are today talking about, I think, to kind of put a couple frames around it, which is leadership in ambiguous environments, right? And right now, if you look at AI in particular, but with other factors, whether it's tariffs or oil prices or macroeconomic conditions or implementing AI, I don't think anybody would argue that it is not an ambiguous environment moving forward. And with your experience, the bread and butter of your former organization, the 160th, the Night Stalkers, right, a special operations aviation group, is there anything that you'd say the 160th does better than succeed in ambiguous environments?
Debrief them.
Yeah, learn something afterwards.
Yeah, learn something afterwards. But succeed in ambiguous environments? Like, absolutely not. Like I can't think of anything that I've participated on that's gone to plan. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And in real world, training is often harder than real world, but yeah, nothing ever went to plan. And so it's almost like the second you take off, you're now operating in an ambiguous environment.
And when business owners are looking out ahead over the next 12 or 24 months, they see a cloud of murky fog of war, whatever the equivalent is. I don't know what my business is going to look like in 12 months. I don't know what my, what my tech stack's going to look like in 24 months. And so I wanted to hear you just riff a little bit about what type of people succeed in an ambiguous environment, what type of people really struggle in an ambiguous environment, because ultimately, I think ambiguity, as you said, is actually like a constant. It is not something that you're going to conquer and say, I finally spent all weekend on Claude Code, and I now have perfect situational awareness around everything for the next 12 months. That is never going to happen. Just like, doesn't matter how long you brief the flight, the minute you're flying, something goes wrong. So I want you to just talk a little bit about succeeding, failing, executing at a high level within an ambiguous environment, which I think every business owner listening right now is going to identify with. I certainly do.
Well, yeah, I think there's two sides to take a look at. First, it's the person that can operate in ambiguity, and second is the leader that can lead in ambiguity. And generally speaking, it's a lot easier when you have a leader who can lead in ambiguity to be a person that operates in ambiguity. So let's start with the leadership side of it. The leaders that I've seen that are the most effective at operating in uncertainty and ambiguity are the ones that understand what the end is supposed to look like and how to communicate that through intent. Yeah, they can come up with a fancy plan, they can come up with a fancy briefing and tell everybody we're going to, make this turn and make this decision and everything is going to go like that. But above all, what they have their team take away with is what is right supposed to look like in the end and why are we doing this in the first place? Because this speaks to commander's intent. So when everything does go to shit, the team is left with like, oh, here's why we're doing this and what it's supposed to look like. I can make a decision based off of that. So that's on like first what it takes to be, I think it takes to be an effective leader that does that.
Can I talk just briefly on commander's intent real quick? Is now good? Okay.
Great time.
What this looks like in a private environment is a little bit different than, a colonel who can't get on the radio with somebody in overseas, right? Because conceivably, at any point in a business, you could get a piece of data that is way down at the tactical level, especially with AI. Meaning I could pull a API key of my Google Workspace and basically on demand read every email in my company. But I think the way that this ambiguity happens and this commander's intent and complexity and things going wrong is because of the complexity of the operating environment in a business, which is as a business owner with 100 people who work for me, the idea that I'm going to get down to the tactical level in anything but the smallest doses is impossible. I'm not going to be in every sales call. I'm not going to listen to every transcript. And so when you talk about the challenge, it's not like, oh, the enemy gets a vote. It's more like complexity compounds. And John, you can't be in every sales meeting. You can't be in every operational meeting. You can't be in every CRM note. And that is the private sector version of kind of like nothing going to plan, which is you never have enough time as a business owner to do everything you think you should do and audit every call. And so I wanted to kind of link the ambiguity in the kind of government sector to what I think it looks like in a fast growing, succeeding business, which is, it looks like cognitive overload on leadership, right? Task saturation. It's basically what it looks like. It looks like task saturation, to use an aviation term.
Yeah. I mean, reflect on your business for a second. Like, where do you see it? Where do you see ambiguity in your business right now?
I am in all but the other than directed telescopes, which I just did a whole training on for our team, which means when I go really, really deep in at the very, very, very minute level on occasion to kind of like walk the floor, I have nothing to do with the level of our business where work is actually performed and delivered. Zero. Nothing. I only work off commander's intent, leadership development, and through kind of our senior and junior leaders. If you told me how many hiring I have no idea. None. By design. So that's how it trickles in. I'm not in those calls. I'm not in those meetings.
Yeah. Why did you do that by design?
Broadly speaking, the people closest to the problem are best positioned to solve against it.
Yeah. What would be a circumstance in which you feel compelled to be pulled in? Do you
life, limb, or eyesight? Right? What's the old joke? Right? Meaning...
Yeah, life on my side, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, meaning something really big that is irreversible. But even if it's big and reversible, hey man, you guys got it. You guys got it. Let me know if you need resources. Let me know if you need prioritization. I'm here.
And what does that open your team to do? If they're given the freedom, I think I know you're going to answer this, but if they're given the freedom to go and figure it out, what are you also giving them the freedom to do other than succeed?
Fail. Learn.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that as sometimes an obstacle to overcome where, okay, failure is treated as this thing that can't happen, or, if it happens, it must happen in a controlled environment. And the more you can let your people fail, but also encourage them and reinforce like they got to learn from it, and you give them the opportunity to actually do that, the better. It's the way the 160th does it, is like they give you in training, you're given every opportunity possible to fail, because they'd rather have you fail then than fail when it counts. And then that when you fail then, you're going to learn something from it, and it's going to be reinforced. Because there's a system of, you failed, now we're going to do it better the next time. It's not like you failed and we don't talk about it again and hope that you do better next time. There's a system in place for, if you fail at something, this is how you're going to correct it the next time.
Did you hear that we hired a bunch of actors? You'd love this. If this works as well as it looks like it is, we might actually offer it to our customers, which is Brian Wilson, who ran a training school in the Marine Corps, and I come from a background where role playing is really, really a big part of it too, which is you listen to a lecture and then you go do role playing. And so we were looking with the size of our team. Brian's like, I don't have enough time to do role playing in high volume. Like, neither do you. And so he's like, I know a bunch of actors because I used to produce Shakespeare in the bar. And so we pay them and we give them characters, and you're called, Bob the picky client. And they have a role and they have a script. And my team then goes in and runs role playing against the actor, and then they debrief it. And they say, awesome, how'd that go for you? Okay. Oh, I just stumbled over my words when he kept saying none of these candidates work, because now they get freaking reps live, not in a controlled environment where we debrief it, we hot wash it, whatever. And we have like 6 or 7 actors now who are constantly
Incredible.
doing role playing against our actors and our recruiters because we want to get reps. And it was totally Brian's idea.
That's incredible.
Isn't that great? I know. I was so excited. I was like, oh, it's such a good idea.
And did you learn about that after it already happened?
I said, Brian, I want you to build our schoolhouse. And I see a lot of rooms for improvement, but I want to, the only thing I mandated was we need to have a really tight debriefing process. And so he built a debriefing muscle where certain things trigger debriefs and stuff like that. But other than that, I said, commander's intent, make us a learning organization. Like, that was end state, which is we learn when we fuck up. We don't do the same thing over and over. And this was one of his ideas, which was to bring actors in. And I was like,
but there's another, there's another perfect example of like, this is what we want it to look like in the end. Here are the resources available. Go figure it out. So that aspect of like, in order to have people that operate in uncertainty, you must have leaders that allow or equip people to operate in uncertainty. It comes back to like, I use this example a lot. I had 2 commanders where one had really clear expectations, but they're really challenging. And the other had shitty expectations that were just like, nobody understood what exactly he wanted out of it. Who's an easier leader to work for? The one who's like, has really challenging expectations, or the one who has no expectations whatsoever? The one that has really challenging, because he knew what right looked like. Like, oh, I need to go solve for that, versus like, what are we solving for in the first place? And I distinctly remember going from the first one as my first boss to the second as my second boss, and being like, wow, this is harder.
Yeah, you're guessing.
I was like, I was almost looking forward to like a little bit of a break. And I was like, shit, this is harder. And then I was just like begging for him back. But inevitably, what led me to the 160th. But I think part of having a team that operates in uncertainty and ambiguity is being a leader that can lead in uncertainty and ambiguity and ambiguity. And now you come to like, what are the attributes that make an individual successful who can operate in that environment, and how do you go and find them? So we solve for the leader part. Now, how do you find the people who can do that? How have you found it? Surely how many people do you have in your team now? Yeah, right. Yeah.
How many of your 75 placements last year, or the actual number, but whatever it was, had industry experience?
None.
I'm going to repeat that again. You make hires for some incredible world-class organizations. Incredible world-class organizations who are making hires at senior leadership, GM, COO, president, whatever, right? Huge, big, heavy-hitting roles. And the people operating at that level say, yeah, I don't need industry experience. Just get me somebody with the right attributes. That is so different than I see, the broccoli-haired kid who runs a remote cleaning company saying, if they don't have 4 years of jazz HR CRM experience, don't even show them to me.
Yeah.
What do you think that is? Like, why is that?
Reps. I think it's reps, honestly.
I'm the same way, by the way. Like, I don't think we have anybody on our team with recruiting experience. Like, I mean, we may have like a couple people.
I think it's just making that mistake over and over again and realizing that industry experience or like some particular, jazz HR familiarization doesn't necessarily get you what you want. Some of these bigger platforms are working with is they already tried it. They tried hiring the industry experts and it didn't work. And so they said, okay, let me try somebody who can just lead and then figure the rest out. And they look up and they're like, oh, this works. It's working really well. Wow, we should keep doing this. So but I still do get people who are like, oh, they must have this sort of experience. And then I say, well, I could tell you all day long about why you don't have to. So why don't you go talk to somebody who's done it, who's hired based off attributes, not experience, which is essentially what I'm encouraging them to do. So I just refer them to clients who have done it and seen success from
it. I think as well, I think there's an important distinction here. And, my background and your background in kind of special operations. If you're going to work at a big, big, big company, they need kind of like straight leg people. But what you and I are talking about in the organization I'm trying to build is much more closer to special operations than it is big army. And what I mean by that is it's ambiguous, it's dynamic, it's changing. I might pull somebody from one group and the next day they're cross-trained. That is very different than a big army style, because I don't think a big army leader would describe leadership necessarily the same way you do, right? Like, or the same way I do. The type of organization I'm trying to build is much more akin to a special operations team than it is to the big army.
Yeah. Truthfully, there's certainly leaders that exist in the big army who are capable of that.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But what special operations does is weeds it out through their assessment process. The whole assessment process is based around, can you operate in that level of uncertainty and ambiguity and make quick decisions? Like, I am so excited to hear at some point, whether it's today or 25 years from now, about the decision making that went down when they decided to blow up all of the aircraft in Iran.
Yeah.
Like, was it like, hey, we got to sit here and talk about it, or is it just like, go?
Yeah, I doubt that they got on the Prick 119 or whatever it's called and asked for permission. They probably just did it. Yeah. I strongly suspect.
I mean, that will be a phenomenal case study in operating in uncertainty and ambiguity of like, if the information we're reading is correct, it's like, our planes, our way out of here is stuck in the sand.
The airfield
So
survey is my real question.
yeah. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna wait. Hold on a second. We're gonna bring in more planes to get us out of here. Like who is like, let's accept that risk of like, let's bring some more planes.
You know what we need right now is
Rather-
more planes.
So we got the other one stuck. So let's just bring some more in, and then let's blow everything up. Like that'll be a phenomenal. Like it will get used as a case study.
Yeah.
It even just
It
in the
has to.
special
I mean, you can already see it.
community of, yeah, just like, yeah, this is why we blew everything up.
Versus hilariously, Eagle Claw in 1984 or whatever, which was the beginning of JSOC, which was a complete goat rope because they didn't do a lot of the things like training and leadership and decentralized command and interoperability and all those. If you go study, I did a whole big paper on Eagle Claw, which was a big failed hostage rescue thing in 1980 something that led to the
81,
creation of 81 that led to the creation of, in Iran, by the way, that led to the creation of Joint Special Operations Command.
Yep. Led to the creation of 160th. So what do you, like tactically, what do you think from a leader's perspective as you're looking at, if you're trying to determine whether you have the team that can operate in certainty, like what do you go look for first? What do you try to assess first off your current team?
For me, and I'll tell you why we've been able to rip as hard as we have in AI, is because organizations take on the characteristics of their leadership. That's something that I learned a long time ago. And I can lead anybody you can, but the people that survive and thrive around me are people cut from my cloth, right? Who like to move fast, who are intellectually curious, who love getting like kind of hard feedback to try to get better, who are, fast cycle time. And so we've built an organization that not in every single seat, but that has an ethos around that because it comes out of my personality and Kayvon's personality and Vincey's personality and our kind of team, like our core team. And so now when I'm like, hey, by the way, we're launching a whole new service offering that does this and whatever, I have 10 people who are excited to already jump into it. And it had nothing to do with what they were hired for. Versus, oh, Christian, I'm hiring you to be our HubSpot administrator. And the minute I'm like, by the way, can you work on Airtable? They break. They're like, yeah, but I've only done HubSpot for the last 5 years. It's like, it's just not how I hire. I'm all attributes.
Yeah. What's the use case for not hiring that way?
Technicians. You can't attribute hire your staff accountant. They have to know how to do double entry accounting and, they can't attributes their way, right? So I imagine it's the same thing in some crazy, if I don't care to build the capability to technically build somebody up from zero, right? Like you need to show up and understand how accounting works because I'm not going to send you to school to go be an accountant and come back. I can take a junior accountant who knows that and then grow you off that base. But I would say technical would probably be the, like a technical specialist. Is the only kind
where in your organization do you hire technicians?
These days, AI developers, that would be one where they need to come in with a pretty high baseline. Other than that, give parts of our finance team, I would say we hire technical. Again, I don't take a generalist and have them start doing bookkeeping entries, right? They need to come with those skills. Yeah. Other than that, nowhere. Nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I just don't do it. Now it's because of the nature of our organization, which is service-based, kind of soft on the edges. If I was running a architecture firm that was doing blueprints, I'd have a different answer.
Right. Yeah. You can still assess for those. Certainly. Like, I think it's still important to assess for those type of people, despite like, okay, if I need to make a more technical hire, like don't overlook like, all right, what can this person, am I assessing this person also on like, can they operate in a little bit of ambiguity or uncertainty? Do you think there are any industries right now that are not at risk to this ambiguity or uncertainty, especially with AI?
No, because of competitive dynamics.
Yeah.
Like, so what everybody ignores with all this AI stuff is right now there's some like ARB right? People don't know about it. You might be able to get away with like juicing your margins while nobody notices that something, right? You're a ghostwriter who built an automation to do ghostwriting for CEOs and nobody realizes it. But what's going to happen, in my opinion, is the competitive dynamics, guys like me, not me in obviously every industry, but in some industries, are going to come in and say, no, we know AI and I'm going to reinvest those margins into a superior product. And so I'm going to push into ambiguity. So you might be like, oh, there's no ambiguity now. And it's like, dude, we know about Claude Code too. So that's table stakes when you're out competing in a high margin industry or whatever. And I'm going to say, we do custom training plans for all Uncommon Elite placements now because I reinvested some of the efficiency that I gained through using AI tools for screening. And I'm reinvesting that. And now as an executive recruiter, I'm going to differentiate by elevating the service that I provide to my clients. And now you're going to charge less, do more, be more efficient. And now they're going to have to, you're going to basically, my job is to push until we hit ambiguity from a differentiation standpoint. Like, I don't want to stay.
And do you think the companies or teams that leverage AI the most and pair it with attribute-driven talent have an advantage?
Well, that's how you unlock it. So tying this, kind of going full circle in this conversation to the original idea, which is even the Anthropic and OpenAI don't understand the implications of what their tools are going to do on an industry by industry basis. Nobody does. There is no map. So you put in a hiring request and say, must know AI for roofing. Dude, nobody knows AI for roofing. Nobody. So stop. Hey, we need somebody who's just going to like bring AI to our roofing company who has experience doing this. I'm like, I don't even know what it's like saying somebody who's been to Mars before. Like we haven't been there yet. Right. So what I would say is the only way to survive and thrive in an AI era in an ambiguous environment is with people who you can say, hey, I know I brought you on board to be our e-com manager, but because of the tariffs, we're going to go open up a retail channel. I need you to go start meeting with wholesalers to sell our product because we got screwed by tariffs. If you get some freaking, automaton who's not attributes, they're going to say, this isn't what I signed up for. And they're going to do a shitty job or they're going to quit or whatever. But you get somebody who's attributes based. They're like, got it, boss. On it.
Yeah. I'll come back to you when I have a solution or recommendations.
Hey, I'm working on it. Hey, I got some ideas. I don't know if they're any good. Can I run them by you? That's what it's going to sound like.
Where do you find those people?
Uncommon Elite?
No, I think you can find them anywhere. I think you can find them anywhere. I think you can find, whether it's onshore, offshore, whatever, you can find those people everywhere. And they're in the places that are obvious, but not. Like, but one of the most impressive candidates I've ever found, I found it on Indeed.
Yeah. They're everywhere. They work at the restaurant in your town. I mean, they're everywhere. But I think what it is that ultimately when I see what this comes down to, I think the message that we're doing oftentimes proliferates to leadership, to owners, to CEOs, to that level. But as you get farther down an organization, somebody with experience looks safe. Because if they F up, they go, oh, she was an EA for 10 years. And we are hiring her for an EA position, which is like, I've never hired an experienced EA. I hired somebody who used to like run a restaurant. I'm like, dude, I can teach him to use Notion. But I do that because I'm the owner. Whereas a middle manager, if that happens, like, I told you to hire somebody who is experienced. You need to get a different recruiting firm who will get. So it actually, I think, is a de-risking thing inside an organization, which is somebody with a good resume. The person who was the hiring manager will never get fired. It's like nobody got fired for hiring IBM. So I think.
Yeah.
So when I work with senior leaders, or you do, they get this right away. But when I work with people a couple clicks down, they're like, well, we have to have Salesforce experience and if you say like, dude, fuck Salesforce, you can learn that shit in a week. Like, I don't know.
So how do you change that? How do you inspire leaders to change that?
You talk to the senior leaders, in my opinion. I mean, you talk to the senior leaders and you're like, hey man, I need you to you need to go talk to Bob and be like, Bob, we're going to hire some people with strong attributes who maybe don't have Salesforce experience. Cool. Because I don't think Bob is ever going to do that. It's he all he sees is downside risk. All he sees is that he gets yelled at if somebody doesn't know how to use Salesforce and they turn over, and the COO comes down and goes, Bob, why did you hire somebody who's never used Salesforce? We're a Salesforce organization. That's my opinion. I think it's a de-risk thing.
Yeah, and then it's giving those, back to the first part of the conversation, giving those leaders the fuel to give their people permission to go figure it out. Give the intent based off of it and the why. Like we teach everything else. So, okay.
So in kind of as we start to bring, or you're going to say something, I cut you off.
No, I'm good.
As we kind of bring this home, to me, you and I both talk about this a lot, and we've talked about this before, I think, but when you create an ambiguous environment with attributes-based leaders, you need to get effing serious about training, about mentorship, about coaching, about developing, because you need to be injecting good decision-making and culture and situational awareness and commander's intent into the freaking jugular of your leaders. You cannot do attributes hiring and then cut them loose. You need to be mentoring and helping them make decisions and help them generate. You cannot do one without the other.
Yeah. I think that would lead to another good this conversation for have is like, what do you do? What's your onboarding plan? Because in attribute-driven organizations like the 160th, like onboarding plan is really good. It lasts a long time, which not a lot of businesses have. Like they don't have those 36 months that we did essentially, or the 12 months plus 36 months on the back end of that. So like what does a good onboarding plan look like? Because that's where your training starts.
If you look at good leaders, in my opinion, I mean, you look at Hoffman from Hoffman Brothers, right? People have seen him on Twitter. They bought a freaking university for training, a facility, right? And you're like, I don't have time to train people. Can you just get somebody who, it's like, okay, noted, right? You look at people at the next level and they are maniacs about training and development and mentorship and career progression. And then you look at the guy who does $2 million a year who can't break through and he says, I don't even have time to talk to you about the job description. Can you just hire somebody? Noted. Right?
Noted.
It's just like, okay. So that is, right? Like, noted. Okay. Yeah. But don't come to me and say my team isn't using AI or my team, can't keep up with the changes or the speed that I want to move. It's like, well, noted. Yeah. Like, so, you want to bring it home? Is that
Let's bring it home, man.
You got a bone frog on there?
It's the Arcteryx.
Okay. That looks like one of the things that tattoos
like the seal thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The team's guys get.
Arcteryx.
I was going to say, man, they're infecting you.
They are infecting me. Play so many of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, and you were a Navy SEAL of the Army. So,
exactly.
A helicopter Navy SEAL as it's known.
That's right.
Okay. So bring it home, man. Takeaways, how can people start putting this stuff to work in your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, 2 takeaways, like to have people that operate in ambiguity, you must be a leader that leads in ambiguity, and that starts with intent and permission to fail. And then how you find that people it's going to be attributes driven. Experience matters to a point, but assessing for the attributes that would allow somebody to operate in ambiguity coupled with your ability to give intent is the way to go. And then John, I think you hammered the ending here, which is like, you can do that all day long and it's fine, but you can't do it without training.
Yeah. The training is the key piece. And I think that, tees up our next topic, which is, and we already gave a little preview here. How do you train in ambiguous scenarios? Role playing, FTXs, right? The business equivalent of that kind of stuff, right? It is not watching a boring YouTube video, right? It looks and feels and smells like real scenarios, which is hard, and you invest money. So I think that tees up our next conversation, which is if you've pressed the I believe button on ambiguity, attributes-based hiring, and thriving, okay, how do we build onboarding and training to kind of proliferate that across an organization, which is stay tuned for our follow-up episode where we will get into that. Good. Christian, where can people find you if they want to hire awesome former special operations guys to help run their businesses?
Twitter LinkedIn, www.uncommonelite.com, or if you're a Sagan member, you get a sweet discount.
Fantastic, man. Well, thanks for joining me on Lazy Leverage.
Thanks, Ben.